Welcome back, students, after the break. The last part of this chapter is calculating the risk premium for US equity and for the international market. Over the 1926 to 2017, we have seen the US market, all five categories of securities like large cap, small cap, and the corporate long term corporate bonds, long term government bonds, and US Treasury. And we found earlier years, that is in beginning in 1800s, the uh, the premium was a little smaller, 5.4%. Comparable data for 1900 to 2010 put the international equity risk premium at an average of 6.9%. You know, risk premium is nothing but the return minus the risk-free rate of return is the risk premium, and we found around 7% return in 1900 to 2010 versus 7.2% in the US. So international market was giving us a kind of 6.9% premium, whereas the US market was giving a premium of 7.2%. So US market was giving higher premium than the international market. Going forward, an estimate of 7% seems a reasonable kind of thing. 7.2 for international for the US market, 6.9 for the international market. So we can go forward with a 7% as a reasonable return. Although somewhat higher or lower numbers could also be considered rational. Case to case basis, sometime it can be higher also, sometime it can be lower also. But a 7% standard can be taken as a benchmarking. Now we will see the 2008, the year of financial crisis. Month-wise returns are being provided here and presented to you. You can see here the January return was negative 6%, and in the whole year you can find out of 12 months, only 1 month, that is April, gave a kind of around 5% positive return. Otherwise, all the 11 months either gave a negative return, zero return, or very insignificant positive return. You can find January 6% negative, June 8.43% negative, September 8.91% negative, October 16.8% negative, and November 7.18 negative. So the year was a very negative year for the investor, and it was this negative return had eroded uh, trillions of dollars wealth from the market, because of the whole the global market was in a very shock, negativity, shock, all kind of fear psychology, and the whole world was suffering from a very big loss in the year 2008, which is very hard to forget. So we can see which of the investments discussed has had the highest average return and highest risk premium. You have seen the small cap stocks had the highest average return, at the same time high risk, or we can say high risk premium, because highest return minus the risk free return will be the highest risk premium. Which of the investment discussed has the highest standard deviation? Again, high return, high risk, or high risk, high return. We have found in the graph, we plotted all the returns and risk in a graph. We found the small cap stocks have the highest standard deviation. Why is the normal distribution informative? We found in the normal distribution curve, the which we also call as the bell curve, which gives a very fair knowledge of idea that if the average return is 12.1%, then two-thirds of the time the return may go either plus or minus one standard deviation. 95% of the time it will go 2 plus or minus standard deviation, and 99% of the time it will go either 71.5% plus or 47.3% minus if the average return is 12.1 and the standard deviation is 19.8%. So in this case, what happens? The standard deviation plus 1 means return plus 1 standard deviation, minus 1 means return minus 1 standard deviation. So you can predict up to two-thirds of the time with 1 plus or minus standard deviation and 99% of the time with 3 plus or minus standard deviation. So it is very informative and very, very helpful for predicting the market, isn't it? What is the difference between arithmetic and geometric averages? Arithmetic average is the simple averaging of the returns of past or historic returns. We make a simple averaging. That means the total, you make a sum total of the total return, the return yearly returns divided by number of years. So if you have a yearly return of 10%, 12%, 13%, 15%, then add this 10 plus 12 plus 13 plus 15 divided by number of years, that is 4. Simple averaging is arithmetic average. Whereas geometric average is the averaging of the compounding years return. So when you average the compounding returns, you get the geometric average. If you are doing a short-term analysis, arithmetic average might be helpful. If you are going for a long-term analysis, geometric average might be helpful. And one more relationship is geometric average is normally smaller than the arithmetic average, and it can be equal to the arithmetic average if the returns of the years are the same. But geometric average cannot be higher than the arithmetic average. So let me stop the recording here.